You have to bring cookies next time.
I think you should do some push-ups. See how far you can run.
Bag of pens I can bring.
Comes late, doesn't it? And never prepared.
At this time, we will call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee DeBoer.
Here.
Trustee Trutchell.
Here.
Trustee Pfeiffer.
Here.
President Vanderstill.
Here.
Trustee Wallschlager.
Here.
Trustee Connor.
Here.
Trustee Hallquist.
This time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Trustee Wallschlager.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we will have public comments. For anybody that would like to step towards the podium and give public comments, please do so at this time. Do we have anyone on Zoom that would like to give public comment?
Just so you know, they can't unmute.
If you would like to public comment on Zoom, please comment now, because due to recent events, our security has become more strict, and rightly so.
Nobody.
Seeing that there is no public comments, we will go to our first item on the agenda, which is consideration of Village Board minutes of August 14th, 2023, and special Village Board meeting of August 14th, 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the village board minutes of August 14th, 2023, and special village minutes of August 14th, 2023.
I would like to second, however, with the correction of myself making the motion on the vouchers.
Just to clarify, you're seconding the motion, but then adding the comment that you want a change made.
Right, correct. Does he need?
On
a
which
first and-
meeting?
The board, regular board meeting. The vouchers, correct.
I just want to make, the village board is on,
Yes, the regular village board meeting.
and our clerk will make that change.
Got it.
Change has been noted.
Real quick. 'Cause we'll-
The question that was asked by the village manager was, are we gonna have enough to pass the vote? It is by a majority, so even though there will be abstentions, it still goes by majority. Even if only 2 people can vote, the vote still gets taken. So with that, I will call the question. The motion on the table is to pass the agenda, or I'm sorry, pass the minutes for both meetings. However, with the regular village board meeting, that the change be made that Trustee Wallschlager made the
Motion on the vouchers.
motion on the vouchers. All in favor?
Aye.
Same.
All opposed? And we have an abstention. That motion is carried. You got the abstention?
Got it.
Okay. All right. Now, items related to vouchers. We have consideration of vouchers for payment in the amount of $157,737.03.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers in the amount of $157,737.03.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to pay the vouchers in the amount of $157,737.03. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we're going to move on to bartenders licenses. which are better known as operators, bartenders licenses on this board. We have Megan Murphy. She has applied, she has taken her course. The chief of police has reviewed the application and approves of them getting their license.
Make a motion to approve Megan Rose Murphy for bartender's operator's license.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for that license to pass and be granted. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item we have is consideration of an application for a fireworks permit for Lake Country Lutheran High School. This has been approved, or he has voiced his approval by Fire Chief Dave Jambritz. The police department has been advised.
I'll make a motion that we approve the fireworks permit for Lake Country Lutheran High School.
I'll second, but I have a question.
So it's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
If like there's a 40-mile-an-hour wind, do they know not to shoot off fireworks then, I'm assuming?
I have a question.
Before, Chief Misko, do you have an answer on that? Or your opinion?
I do not. I believe, I don't know if Chief Chamberts works with them through the fire department. I thought that's how a lot of those permits went, but that's typically handled on the fire side of it, so I'm not overly familiar with that process offhand.
Isn't it gonna be a pyro doing it? So
I would
that
think
they
so,
would
but
have
I'm not looking at the
criteria.
contract. If someone has something to add, please do so.
Yeah, I would think they'd have criteria.
Mr. Thompson, do you have any comments?
No, we've used a person in the past that has come and done it for us. We don't do anything ourselves, but I understand the weather concerns. We would reach out to Chief, of course, if we had any questions or concerns with that.
So, on the documentation that was provided in submitting for this permit, Wolverine Fireworks Display, Inc. is listed as the, not only the insured, but will be the company or organization that will be lighting these off. And with that being stated, I don't ever like to assume, but this is a professional company that's shooting them off. I think that they may direct more so even than us directing, of saying this is safe, not safe. It's going to rain, it's a thunderstorm, go, no go. I personally feel comfortable with that. But I think that's a very valuable question.
And I believe that we always, typically when there's fireworks, we'll have an apparatus there for fire suppression if needed. So,
That leads into my question with, isn't it a little bit too dry to be doing this now?
It's September 29th is the date of the fireworks, so in a month, we'll probably see some rain between now and then, I would guess, but
Yeah, but if we don't, or it's only a little, I think it's very dry, and I don't think, I'm just questioning how dry it is.
So Chief Jambritz does take into account, he looks if we're ever in a high danger fire zone, that he bans all burning. So something like this, if we were in a high fire, I assume he would reach out and discuss it with the school. You gotta remember with ours too, we've had very dry, we water the field, so it's something that we can have DPW and the fire department talk to them about, making sure they keep their fields watered.
Like I say, it even says on here, it's on the football field, so I'm sure football season, that thing is soft and wet and.
But that stuff does fly, and it can go on, I mean, there's houses over there too, or apartments, whatever. I wanna make sure that somebody has looked at that to make sure it is safe, that's all.
To Trustee Wallschlager's point, and I'm just adding my comments, I do believe it's a valid point. If it is too dry, for instance, if the DNR, which does consistently on a regular basis for the entire state of Wisconsin, the Department of Natural Resources says whether it is, a no burning situation, because it's so dry. There's times where they even say it's moderate. They do give recommendations on that. I would think that the company, if there was something going on locally with the DNR, is not going to risk the forest fire, but I think it's a very, very valid point. I'm guessing because it's a professional organization, they would say, hey, we can't because it's so dry. Now, for us to withhold passing this, knowing that we can't predict the weather, I would find it unfortunate. I think we're just opening it up to being able to decide on it.
I wasn't trying to hold it up. I just wanted that to be a consideration that is on people's minds
Sure.
up to the day.
Chief Misko?
I was just looking for the email that, the correspondence on this, and I found it from Chief Chamberts. It appears there will be some fire apparatus on scene for that event. And then I believe under other circumstances, that's always been in coordination with the fire department as well. But per this email, there will be fire apparatus, or the fire truck will be there.
Anybody wants to add? It was moved and seconded to approve this for the fireworks permit for Lake Country Lutheran High School. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have consideration of a motion to approve resolution number 08282023, a resolution pledging that the village board of the Village of Hartland will expend funds necessary for the Hartland Public Library to exempt the village from the Waukesha County Library levy. If either one of you want to talk about that, otherwise I can touch on it.
Yep, the resolution, if we adopted it as presented, basically prohibits Waukesha County from taxing village residents for library services in addition to the village's tax levy, which includes the library expenses. So essentially, we're making sure that Hartland residents do not get doubly taxed for library services. And part of that resolution means that the Village of Hartland does agree to municipally, whatever that word is, spend $426,456 as part of next year's annual budget.
This is something we do annually. The county gives us, next year, I believe it's $309,000.
Yes.
It's going up $30,000 of grant revenue, so the number for the library is like 730 some, and his budget is right around that number.
Yes, and that we get a lot of that money because we provide services to county residents that do not have a library. Like Neshota, Shaniqua, anywhere in Waukesha County, we actually get money for providing services to those residents.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 0828-2023, a resolution pledging that the village board of the Village of Hartland will expend funds necessary for the Hartland Public Library to exempt the village from the Waukesha County Library levy.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have items related, excuse me, to updates to the zoning code. First, we have to have a public hearing regarding bill for an ordinance 882-23 for proposed floodplain zoning ordinance and map revisions that are required by state and federal law. These revisions govern development in mapped floodplains area. That's the item that's on the agenda right now, and I will open the public comments in a second. I just want to make some comments. The next item down, which would be 5B, is going to talk about the second reading. If we would like to pass on second reading, we can do so, but it would take a vote to suspend, a motion, a second to suspend the rules, a vote in approval of suspending the rules, and then further a motion to pass that ordinance, a second to pass the ordinance, and a vote of approval from this board to pass that ordinance. I just wanted to put that out there so that everybody is aware of the process. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing regarding bill for an ordinance 882-23 for proposed floodplain zoning ordinance and map revisions. If anybody would like to step forward and speak on these exciting items, please feel free to do so. This is the time for all of you in the public to speak. Madam Clerk, at this time, I will close the public hearing. Seeing that everybody has gotten their chance to speak now. But now we have consideration of a second reading of Bill for an Ordinance 882-23 for proposed floodplain zoning ordinance and map revisions that are required by state and federal law. These revisions govern development in mapped floodplain areas.
I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules.
It's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The rules are suspended at this time.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the bill for ordinance 882-23 for proposed floodplain zoning ordinance and map revisions that are required by state and federal law. These revisions govern development in mapped floodplain areas.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass resolution number 828-2023, a resolution pledging that the village board of the Village of Hartland will expend funds necessary for Hartland Public, I'm sorry, I was on the wrong one. Sorry, you guys. It has been moved and seconded to pass a bill for ordinance 882-23 for proposed floodplain zoning ordinance and map revisions that are required by state and federal law. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. My apologies. Now we have items referred from the Plan Commission meeting. Consideration of an extraterritorial certified survey map for Wankowski property W293N3112 Poplar Drive, Town of Delafield. This did go through the Plan Commission.
And again, this is a property that would not be coming forward into the Village of Hartland in the future, but we are within our distance where we have extraterritorial rights, so they have to come forward to us to make any of these requests. Mr. Wankowski and his attorney are on, but again, this was approved, they're on Zoom, but this was approved by the Plan Commission. It was a very simple one.
I'll make a motion to approve the extraterritorial, however you pronounce that, certified survey map for the Wankowski property, W293 North 3112 Popular Drive, Town of Delafield.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve that extraterritorial certified survey map for the Wankowski property in the town of Delafield. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have other items of consideration. We have discussion and consideration of an application for a special events permit for Hartland Lights on December 1st, 2023, by the Hartland Business Improvement District. Again, Hartland Lights, I don't know how many years it's been going on, but it's been going on a very, very long, 14 years. It's been going on for a very long time. It has become basically part of the fabric and interwoven into this community. People look forward to it, but I'll stop trying to elaborate and push.
I'd make a motion that we approve the special events permit for Hartland Lights December 1st, 2023 for the Hartland Business Improvement District.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the special events permit for Hartland Lights on December 1st, 2023. Discussion. Oh, you were, it's a race today. You gotta be faster.
Gotta be fast.
It's like Family Feud. You missed the button. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Now we have discussion and consideration of auto renewal of City of Delafield Recreation Agreement.
Good evening. So we do have the annual recreation contract that is up for automatic renewal on September 1st, 2023. Included in the packet is the contract. I would like to go over a couple points in there. In point 1, the agreement does say that we will automatically renew for 1-year terms unless either party notifies the other party in writing of its intent to modify or terminate the agreement not later than September 1 of the year prior to termination of the agreement. The next point I want to review is under number 4 there. Village will invoice city a flat sum for services provided through this agreement as described below, plus the city's proportionate share of the actual cost, plus, and there's a typo there, the cost of printing of the 3 seasonal recreation program guides. And that is typically copies that are ordered extra and brought and delivered to the city of Delafield. Again, here, effective for the 2022 calendar year, the flat fee will be $2,500 and will remain fixed for 5 years. That went up in 2021. It went up after 2021 from $2,000. The next page, when we get beyond the contract, reviews the different classes that we offer at the Delafield Fish Hatchery currently. We have 7 different programs that run over there, and you can see in 2022, the 2 primary classes that do exceptionally well over there are Art Studio for adults and then Essential Morning Yoga. That is also an offering, there's a yoga offering in the evening, and that's a punch card class. So that class with punch cards, you can attend in a window of time. That is a format change that changed in 2022. Used to be a standard class where you purchased for 8 weeks or something similar, and when that time expired, your access expired. Whereas now with our punch card classes, it's 128 days active, or if you use up all of your punches, typically 6 or 10 punches. So we had a participation level of 342 in 2022. Year to date, we are looking at 299 with our fall programming to go. Again, it's showing that those 2 classes are doing exceptionally well. You can see as far as revenue, we've got a significant shift in 2023. Again, that can be in part due to the program change with the yoga, which again is a lot more accommodating for the participants to be able to flex when they're attending. Typically, we do a 80% pay to the instructors, which you can see there. We do have a slight shift year to year as sometimes with registration for winter and spring programming that falls at the end of December. So there's a little bit of payout that happens for the previous year in the new year there. Additionally, you can see we netted for the Village of Hartland $8,336.20 last year. Whereas right now we are sitting at $1,908, again with 1 more season to go, projecting probably somewhere around $2,500 net profit for all of the programs in 2023. Additional considerations are expenses. We do, the staff in the rec department would use about anywhere from, with the clerk, about an hour, 30 minutes to an hour a month. And then for the rec director, about 2.5 hours per month, with a total wages expense of roughly $26.65. Additionally, we print 3 guides a year that come out right now is $7,500 per guide. Currently, that mails to the Hartland residents, the Neshota residents, and some of the Pewaukee residents. We purposely do not mail to the city of Delafield. That was a decision that was made previously, and for that reason, we drop off 200 or so copies to the city, in which then we bill them for the cost per guide, in addition to the $2,500 flat rate that is agreed in the contract. What that $2,500 covers is the residents in the city of Delafield receiving the resident rate in the guide. Typically, there is a non-resident fee that ranges between $5 and $20 per resident. We are looking in 2023. Right now, we're 189 residents from the city of Delafield have benefited from that resident rate, with still fall to go. And again, a savings of roughly around $10 to $12. So anticipating that number to be over 250 probably by the end of the year. And so that number kind of breaks even, kind of. Additionally, a consideration for expenses with the guides being $2,500 per season. That would come out to typically 24 pages per guide, so you're looking at $312 per page. Typically, the Delafield programming comes out to a page or a page and a quarter, depending on the season. So that can be anywhere from roughly $1,100 to $1,200 annually. So in total, with those expenses that we reviewed with time, oh, I missed one. There's also an event in Delafield in the late spring. It's the fishing clinic for youth. We do provide fish from Keystone Hatcheries. We've done the last few years, fish for their pond to stock for this youth fishing clinic there. This year I did cut back significantly as the cost of fish were up and we needed a larger size fish than had been stocked previously. So that's about $300 for that expense. So we're looking at about a cost of expenses of $4,121.25 when considering the time, the activities, and the cost of the guide. So in summary, I believe this is a good time for the board to discuss and review the renewal of this contract.
Are you suggesting to keep the rate at 2,500, or is there a dollar amount in your head that would make it more feasible to cover some of those costs?
So I would say I'm not necessarily opposed to terminating the partnership. However, I think it would be smart to renegotiate the rate for the rising expenses that maybe weren't considered in the previous agreement.
You touched on rising expenses. From 2022 to 2023, the total revenue under this contract, or at least what I'm looking at here, for this is just fish hatchery offerings, has dropped by almost half. But the instructor pay has dropped by less than 1/3. I'm just wondering why that is.
So I touched on that. With the program registration, the winter guide opens in late December, and some registrations come in at the end of December, and then some come in at the new year. So it's never a perfect measure, where some pay will fall in the year prior or the next year. That it's not going to be exactly the same each year, but it does average out. Staff spent some time looking at these numbers to figure out why they weren't exactly closer to 80% and 20%. And that's what we found, was that there was some pay that happened right around that year end that shifted the numbers significantly. Some of the programs have a higher cost because they run for several weeks versus like a smaller cost with the punch card classes.
Okay. And then another question that I have is, I'd like your opinion on this is showing just fish hatchery offerings.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an expanded picture that has to do with the entire program? Because it's my understanding when we enter this agreement, any program, not just that fish hatchery, any program that a citizen of Delafield comes and participates in, they are receiving a discount.
Yes, and that is a number that we did find. So year to date for all of the Hartland programming, including anything partnered with the Hartland Lakeside School District or the City of Delafield. So 189 City of Delafield participants are receiving the resident rate for all programs that are offered, whereas year-to-date, 23 Hartland residents are taking advantage of the Delafield programming. Obviously, we have a lot more programming in Hartland than we
Of
do in
course,
Delafield,
of
but
course. I ask these questions because I want to utilize that amount. If we're going to be offering things to them, including your time, which is extremely valuable, I want it to be funded. But I don't want it to come across like I'm trying to take it away. But what I definitely don't want when we do these things, because the truth is, if things aren't in balance, then the Village of Hartland residents are helping the Village of Delafield have a cheaper rec program because they can just pay $2,500 and not have a rec program. And the Village of Hartland pays a substantial amount more to have a rec program because of the importance that we put on it.
I think that's a very valid point, and I think in a partnership where we are providing our time, I think it should be considered that they're supporting a portion of that expense.
And lastly, I'll just say, I do agree with having the partnership as long as it's a partnership. But I do think that them as a city, they need to pay their fair share. And when I look at what the Village of Hartland pays, I could be wrong on this, I look at different things, but it's my understanding it's not that far off from 50-50, and I may be wrong, maybe that's changed in the last 2 years. Is it about 50-50 Delafield and Hartland people that take advantage of the programs?
Well, when we look at the number, that number I don't have right now, but I can definitely pull that up and get back to you on that.
And I'm gonna go business on you. The only reason I'm saying that, now, I don't know, when I see the drop in numbers, it does seem like there's a drop in numbers, and that's not to any fault of your own. But one question that I have is, if we keep it the same, how many people still keep staying involved from Delafield? Because you're gonna have an automatic increase of 15%. And that doesn't mean I'm right, that that's the right thing to do. I'm just saying I want to be on the receiving end sometimes for Hartland also, as opposed to always on the giving end to Delafield.
So, yeah,
Go ahead, I got a question.
I was gonna
but I'll
say, I
wait.
guess today, I think kind of what we're looking to do is, in my opinion, is we're asking the board not to renew the contract, but to give Sarah the authority to negotiate, Sarah and myself, the authority to negotiate with Delafield and bring you back something for possible approval or denial. They may say no right away, I mean, everybody's budgets are tight. If they say no, essentially they would be ending their rec program then. So, again, what she said, just not opposed to, but if we're doing it, there should be something there for us. Heartland's always been very good about not taking advantage of our neighbors. That's not what we're looking to do, but we're looking to get fair value for what they get, so.
And this is not a reflection of the value that the programs bring over in Delafield. They're well attended with the yoga, well attended with the art studio, and not looking to change that necessarily.
Sure.
And I was gonna say that, what grounds do we have or that we go and renegotiate? I mean, just looking at, so 2023 enrollment is year-to-date, so is that like through August or? Okay, so yeah, so I look at that, our revenue is down 50%. Pay is up, as you said, up 70% for instructors, but net is only at 25%. And you mentioned your projection is like $2,500 coming here, so we're still gonna be down 50% in revenue at the end of the year. So what expenses, just by these numbers here, it shows that if everything holds true, that the instructor pay is a big portion of that lost revenue, but I don't know if there's anything else. But to that point, we need to renegotiate and put more of a ask, I guess, on Delafield to make it fair.
I would personally, if it's okay that I touch on that, but I agree with that approach because there's no question that Hartland, just like we do with other services, Hartland puts an emphasis on our recreation department. And at least I feel we do, and we support it a lot. And we want to help people in Delafield so that they can participate in a recreation department that wants to have a recreation department, because we choose to do it here. It is very easy. I got to be very careful because this is going to be on YouTube, but I'm going to say it anyways. It's like child support. It's really easy to just walk away and pay the money instead of doing the work, but Hartland does the work. And if they're going to pay, let's make sure that it's the right amount that makes it worth it. Otherwise, their residents are completely free to come and join. They just won't be joining at a discount, because we do not want the Hartland, or I don't want the Hartland residents to subsidize the Delafield residents when we're only getting $2,500.
If I recall, back in 2003, and yes, I was on the park board at that time too. This whole agreement was to generate more attendance, to get more people involved in the programming. So if it comes to the point where financially we're not making money, so to speak, then, I don't have a problem if we walk away from it if they're not willing to look into that, so.
I would hope with item 1 in the contract, I mean, it's, you have your written intent to either modify or terminate, so you write that you want to modify and try to get back to the table together and figure something out. Like you said, there's a lot of programs that are well-attended and do make sense by our residents, in the fish hatchery, for instance. So it'd be great if we could make this work, but yeah, I think it's time to sit back down.
I do honor the request of staff being able to go and negotiate the contract. I do want the village board to be part of it somewhat, so I would hope that if something's decided as opposed to.
We bring it back for your approval.
Yeah, and that's all I know that's a change from what happened in the past, and that was to no fault of anyone that's sitting up here. But bringing it back for approval so the board could answer on it, as opposed to bringing it back and saying, hey, this was signed, just so you know. I think that's a step in the right direction for Hartland and for staff to be able to go and say, hey, no, you guys can crunch the numbers, and revenue off the contract based on what we should get.
Yeah, I'd completely agree. I'd be in favor of, giving you time to negotiate, because right now it's not looking proportionately equitable with the village of Hartland. And so I would agree with that.
So I'd make a motion that we do not sign the auto renewal with the City of Delafield Recreation Department, or allow the auto renewal with the City of Delafield Recreation Department, and allow our rec director and village manager to renegotiate the terms of the agreement and bring it back in front of us.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow to not auto-renew the recreation contract with the City of Delafield, and to allow the village manager and the Village of Hartland rec director to negotiate a contract to bring back to the village board for final approval. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted in our weekly update, should they decide to walk away, or we'll kind of give you updates as we go along through the process.
If there's any major updates, please, that would be sent as just an email in and of itself, but thank you. We now have discussion and consideration of staff education reimbursement.
Staff encourages our DPW employees to get better for their trade through education. Right now, the village picks up the cost of this education if it pertains to their DPW work. Staff, along with village attorney, wrote this policy. The reason for this policy, it's a challenge to hire employees, and it's a bigger challenge to keep employees, because nobody's getting into public sector work. So out of the last 5 hires, 4 of them came from different municipalities. There's not new people coming into the workforce. So what we want to do is we want to draft a policy that we encourage them to go for education and better themselves, but if they leave, we want them to reimburse the village up to 3 years. So we'll pay for their education. If they leave before 3 years, they have to reimburse us 100% for the education that the village paid for. Right now, we don't have anything stipulated. We pay for their education, we pay for their water license, and they can literally, once they get their certificates or license, they can go on to other municipalities and benefit themselves there. So we feel that it's time, unfortunately, it's time that we have to put something like this in place so we keep the employees that the village, in essence, the residents paid for their education. So
We do this currently in the fire department
We
with
do.
paramedics and any of their education. We're just trying to keep people and get reimbursed if they leave.
I think that's a great thing. You know, we invest in them time and energy and money that we need to reap some of the benefits, and if they do want to move on, that's their prerogative, but it comes at a cost. So, and a lot of other businesses in the private sector do the same thing. There's always a commitment. So in my previous occupation, we had commitments that was reimbursed if he decided to leave. So, yeah, I'm all for this. So I'll make a motion to approve the staff education reimbursement policy for DPW.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the staff education reimbursement policy. Any discussion? I have a few things I want to add on this. I don't think that it's too much to ask if we were to prorate this. Meaning, as opposed to just stopping at the 3 years, and let me explain. It gets prorated where 1/3 after graduation, or after this is presented to, in this case, Department of Public Works. After graduation, that's when the beginning of year 1 starts. As opposed to you go to school for 3 years, but then you graduate and or 2 years, you graduate and you only have 1 more year to put in. After graduation, when it's presented and actually logged and filed, that's when day 1 of that cycle starts. I'm just throwing this out there. That goes on for a year. If you've gone past that 365 days, 366 in a leap year, 365 days, now you will only owe 66%. After 2 years, you would only owe 33% back to the village. After 3 years, everything gets dropped down to 15%. After 5 years, it drops to 0. It's a suggestion. I'm throwing it out there because it does take time on staff, and if someone really wants to be here, then they can pay the 15%. They won't care about that policy, but someone that's just utilizing the education component can pay the 15% to get out, depending on what that costs. It's a suggestion. It does not mean, I think it's a great idea to do this, to have the reimbursement. It's just a thought on my end. If you're gonna leave after 3, but before 5, if you really wanna leave the best village on earth, go ahead. It's gonna cost you the 15% that we put in. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I'm just throwing it out there.
I would be 100% fine with that.
And that wasn't the motion, and I'm not amending it yet, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Currently, we don't prorate at all. So
Nope,
like
we
fire
don't
department,
prorate.
if they leave at 2 years and 11 months and 28 days, they gotta pay it all. There's no proration.
So, and I know in the private sector, they do that as well. If you leave 2.5 years into it, you're paying the whole thing back.
Now, in the past, it used to be prorated, but because times are tough, even in the pharmacy world, it's all or none. I mean, I got somebody now that's waiting 4 months to come join us because she has to pay back several $1,000s, so.
I think that would also be a lot of record keeping, and somebody'd have to keep track of all that. I think it'd be a lot easier just to have what's proposed on the
The
paper.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't amend it, so the motion is
Okay.
still the motion on the floor, so I just wanted to throw my 2 cents out.
Unless you want to keep track of that, Dave, for everybody.
I just
No,
like
thank
to
you.
keep 'em- I'd like to keep them for 5, where
Yeah.
they have 2 years of basically they're on their good faith, as opposed to, all right, I've been here 3 years, now I can get out of here.
Well, I think if you did that, then we'd have to relook at the fire department's structure as well then.
I do not disagree.
Yeah.
But the motion is on the table, I was just giving it's food for thought down the road, maybe. And like I say, I'm only one voice, it's just something that I thought of, but the motion is on the floor to pass that policy. I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Now we have consideration of appointment. This is 2 appointments, but the same person. This is for Linda Hallquist for the Delhart Commission. That is a vacant seat. If you'll all recall, I put it out there to Donna Doro to continue on that seat or be reappointed for the seat on Delhart Commission. She did contact the village and said that she did not want to do that anymore. We also have the library board, which Dawn Nelson has resigned from a position, so we have an open position there. I'm not going to act fake just because I'm sitting here and say that no one wants to be on the library board. I will be honest, and I will say that, I will tell you, no one's knocking down my door for Delhart. But for library board, the board does not have to approve this appointment. But it is in my opinion that this is the best fit for the best outcome for Hartland and the Hartland Library. And I'm given that right to make that nomination, and that is my nomination. She is in attendance. If anybody would like to ask questions, I'm sure she'd be willing to come and answer them. While I can't force her to do so, I'm guessing she would be. But I leave it up to the board. I do get the vote, I'll vote, but I leave it in front of you.
I have a question. How many committees or commissions are you currently on for the village?
I'm on the Ecos Committee.
So that they can catch it for YouTube.
I'm currently on the Ecos Committee. I will be asking to non-renew that committee in April, because 3's too many.
Okay.
Can I ask what's for dinner tonight?
No.
I thought he was cooking.
I'd make a motion for both positions that we approve Linda Hallquist for Delhart Commission and Library Board as presented by President Vanderstel.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the nomination to the Delhart Board and the Library Board. Delhart Board being a representative of Hartland, Library Board for the library in Hartland as a trustee to the Library Board as nominated by the village president.
Did you say as a trustee?
Library as trustees. That's what their title is. Discussion.
I think Linda would be a great addition to the library board and both positions.
I look forward to sitting with her at Delhart.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I abstain.
Any abstentions?
Yes.
I wonder why. That motion passes. And now we have announcements. We'll start with Leo.
I think you should start over there. It worked to me.
I think library's ready to go.
I can start real quick. A week ago, Friday, was Peter's last day as a children's librarian. We have gotten multiple applicants since then. We're hoping to start interviewing next week, if not even sooner, possibly this week. 2 of them are from out of state, so I'll be doing a phone interview with them before to screen. And a few hours ago, I received an email. I haven't even told any of these guys yet. back in the spring, I wrote a grant a grant application for the Wisconsin Library Systems. It's a $5,000 innovation grant. We applied for kind of like a bike repair installation kit to put along the Ice Age Trail, and they're also going to pay for a like collapsible bike and part of the bike rodeo for next year. So we'll talk a little bit more about this tomorrow. But essentially, we got a $5,000 grant. We're one of a few libraries throughout the entire state that gets it each year. So as I find out more about that, I will keep the board updated.
Congratulations.
So the DPW put one of our used tractors that was budgeted to be replaced. We received that new tractor. We sold the old one for $6,000 more than we got for dealer trade-in. So that's a good little haul. That was $12,000. Cottonwood Avenue was paved today. They have to let it sit 48 hours before they stripe it. It has to cool off, and then they'll paint it. They just don't want the oils to come through the yellow paint. If they put it on, the oils will lead right through. So that'll be striped on Thursday, and weather permitting, if it dries, we'll open it up Thursday night. If not, it'll be open Friday. Hartbrook Bridge was set. The finished grading to the ramps were completed today. They will be paving the ramps to the Hartbrook Bridge on Thursday, and it'll be open for the kids going back to Arrowhead on the following Tuesday.
This is the last Thursday night concert series of the summer, which is exciting. And then that season's ending a little bit early just because the park will be shutting down in September for construction. And tomorrow at 7:30 a.m., fall registration opens for programming in person or online.
I do want to touch on Nixon Park. So Nixon Park, the playground equipment was sold. I don't recall what we received for that, but the company that bought it will be here Thursday to remove the old equipment. And then as of Tuesday morning, Nixon Park will be completely closed. We'll close the walking paths, the entrances from Maple Avenue and Park Street, and they'll be coming in to start ripping out the parking lot on Tuesday afternoon, and the path system that are being repaved. So that should take approximately a month to do the paths and the parking lots and additional parking. So they're going to close off the bridge up by Cottonwood, so nobody can enter that path as well. And they're gonna run a snow fence from the river down East Park and then connect it to the baseball field so they don't get any stragglers in there while there's heavy equipment in there.
There be a detour sign
For
the path?
We'll make some signs up to kick them up to the sidewalks on Cottonwood Avenue. Correct.
Thank you.
I have similar news to what the library just shared, but I'll start with the good news first. We did receive a grant through the We Energies Foundation. I believe Lieutenant DeBarge verbally presented that to the board last meeting, but just wanted to share with that grant. We had a Quick Trip CARES grant and then a grant through the Wisconsin Department of Justice that fully covered our squad camera equipment that we implemented this year. So the equipment costs were fully covered under those three grants. And then the bad news, we got the unfortunate resignation of Lieutenant Conrad Saboniak. He's going to be staying home, homeschooling his children and raising his children. It's unfortunate for us. He was a very well-rounded officer, very intelligent, our lead DAT instructor, not only for here in the village of Hartland, but he was cutting edge as far as bringing in some jujitsu training to the state curriculum for our defense and arrest tactics and really changing an antiquated system and bringing some really relevant tactics to keep both officers and the public at large safe when force would be used. So it's a big miss, not just for the village of Hartland, but it's going to be a big hole to fill for the state when it comes to defense and arrest tactics moving forward. So that's unfortunate, but we do wish him the best, and it is for the right reasons for him and his family. So, September 6th is his last day, and we'll have just a little luncheon here with a plaque presentation honoring his years for service. Well, he only worked about 7 years here at the Village of Hartland. He was a Las Vegas Metro cop for about that time period, and then was actually a Pleasant Prairie. I get my Pleasants mixed up, but it was the Pleasant Prairie police officer for a handful of years before going to Las Vegas as well. So many years as a law enforcement officer.
Chief.
Filling in for Chief Jamberts tonight. He just wanted to express his gratitude for those that participated in and also sponsored our first annual golf outing fundraiser. It was very successful. All had a good time from what I've heard from feedback. We are busy on the weekends. Football season has come upon us, so we're staffing ambulances at both the Arrowhead home games and also Lake Country Lutheran, and also provide an EMT at the Chiefs games for any type of first responding medical issues on the field, and then they call the ambulance and if needed. So it was a busy weekend, but we managed to keep all the calls and handle them all I believe 8 or 9 on that crew. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Leo? Did you? They're done now. I have nothing.
Trustee Connor?
I'm good.
Trustee Wallschlager? Sure.
Okay.
You'll all see a new name tag, a new face, a new person sitting to my left. Welcome to Hartland.
Thank you.
We're very happy to have you.
Good to be here, thank you.
Welcome.
I do not have any announcements other than that.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. Hold on, wait, I do have a, no, I'm kidding. I don't.
Too late, there's a motion on the floor.
All in favor? Aye. This meeting's adjourned.